What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Monday Mornings. I'm Seth, and we're in week 4, 5, 6. I honestly don't know anymore of the quarantine, and I am completely out of stuff to watch, as I'm sure some of you are too. And so let's help each other out. If you have a show or a movie that you would recommend, let me know in the comments below, because I'm starting to get bored, and I need something. Here's one for you. If you've never checked out Jiro Dreams of Sushi on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It is about a world-famous sushi chef. Say that one 5 times fast. The entire thing is in Japanese, so unless you are fluent in Japanese, have fun reading subtitles, but it really is a great movie. But today we're looking at 1 John chapter 3. I just want to look at one verse. 1 John 3:9 says this: "Those who have been born into God's family do not make a practice of sinning, because God's life is in them. So they can't keep on sinning, because they are children of God." So when I read this, I just had to pause, because what John seems to be saying and what I experienced, they're two different things. John writes, followers of Jesus cannot sin, but I know that I make mistakes every single day, and every other follower of Jesus that I know makes mistakes every single day. So what's John saying here? Well, if you'll remember back to week 1 of this series, and if you missed that video, go and check it out. You'll remember that one of the reasons that John wrote this letter was to warn people against some false teachers that had entered the church. Now, these false teachers were teaching untrue things about Jesus, but they also had this idea that if you could just possess the right gnosis or the right knowledge, then you would be saved. It was more like this enlightenment type of thing. You would be enlightened. And so knowledge was all that mattered. How you lived your life didn't really matter that much. I think John is trying to combat this idea here, because as followers of Jesus, he says that no, how you live your life does matter. That if you are a child of God, then he begins to transform you, and you will be molded and shaped to become more and more and more like Jesus. Now, as you become more and more like Jesus, then sin becomes more and more and more unnatural. And so when John says that followers of Jesus cannot sin, I think what he's actually saying is that followers of Jesus, their life is no longer marked by sin. That sin is no longer the defining factor or the defining characteristic of a follower of Jesus. Will followers of Jesus mess up from time to time? Yes. And actually, earlier in the book, John acknowledges that. He says that anyone who says they do not sin, they're only fooling themselves. But followers of Jesus are also able to recognize it as such. And when they mess up, they know it. And they can go and they can confess that to God and say, God, man, I'm sorry. And that's what I think John is saying in verse 9. Not that we cannot sin, but that sin is no longer the defining factor in us, and that we have God's life within us that helps us navigate life and helps us figure out what is the right decision to make and what is the wrong decision. That helps us recognize sin in our life so that we can do something about it. Next week, we'll take a look at chapter 4. Until then, see ya.